Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point.
Wait a minute. Are all of these attempts to grow acts, or are they really happening?
Yes. We have to talk about it. Will Smith finally spoke. Finally. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. It definitely wasn't expected. I definitely don't feel like he owed us anything, but he did say something. So let's just go straight to it and kind of break this down.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out to all my fellow nominees. You know, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me, and it really breaks my heart to have stolen and tarnished your moment. I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world. And, you know, if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
So normally, and still, we don't do gossip and kind of like that vibe. It was that last statement for me that I was like, yo, we got to talk about it, because it was more like, yo, if you stick around, we could be friends again. Meaning he already understands he broke brand trust. And that's huge. When having a brand, you don't want to crush that in any kind of way. Now, Will Smith is a huge. Like, I don't think to some people, he could do any wrong and be like, cancel Will Smith. But facts are facts. He does have a 10-year ban on, what was the Oscars? What was it?
Academy? On the Oscars.
Yeah, okay. So he has a 10-year ban from that award ceremony. So I think his first step, he understood, even though he doesn't owe the audience anything, he doesn't owe us anything, he could have handled that behind the scenes with Chris, even though it said in the video, yo, I've reached out, he's not ready. And from people who have reported from Chris Rock's shows, he speaks on it like very little. Chris Rock himself still hasn't said anything super public. What he has says is like, I'm not a victim, right? He does crack a few jokes, but he said, yo, if you came here to hear about this, about the slap, I'm not, you came to the wrong show. You came to the wrong show. So he still hasn't really addressed it. He's still processing it. But I think for Will Smith, in order, the first step of trying to rebuild brand trust is, let me apologize publicly. Because what we do behind closed doors, even though we are public figures, doesn't mean anything to our audience. So being a public figure, I have to publicly apologize, right? Which is a lot of pressure. Like, a crazy amount of pressure. But I do appreciate that he understands that this is going to be a long road. 10 years, the max, or maybe the minimum, depends. 10 years means something, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For me personally, in my perspective, I got over it at Hello. Like, people are in their emotions. We have to remember Will Smith, regardless of of being the role model, regardless of being the star, regardless of being father, husband, all that. He's still a human. And people are going to make mistakes. And though it did affect Chris Rock and Chris Rock's family and friends, and, you know, it had a lasting moment towards the awards ceremony, and it affected more than just that moment, right? At the end of the day, he's still a human being. And even shout out to FAQ podcast when they had DJ Jazzy Jeff.
We all went to Miami and he, you know, had for a book reading, and he read the book to everybody. Wanted to make sure everybody was cool with what he said.
Oh, that's dope.
And I walked out saying, I am nowhere near writing a book. I am so nowhere near writing a book. The level of honesty, I realized I'm not ready for that.
Said, look, I never want to write a book, because what Will Smith had to address and let out, and probably still holding on to some things, is a lot. And so we just don't know what people are going through to hold him to, like, you can't do no wrong, you embarrassed us, and this, like, but what are you doing?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And I've said this publicly a lot. Will Smith is, I'm a huge Will Smith fan. I definitely growing up watched a lot of Will Smith. So definitely admired him in a lot of different ways. Not that that's changed now, but I think the lesson that a lot of people should really tune into and even think about it from a business perspective is that success in one phase of your business or your life does not guarantee success in the next phase. So, of course, a lot of us know, like I said, for me at least, I know Will Smith through Fresh Prince. I know Will Smith through Men in Black, Bad Boys, right? The mega movie star that we know was going to sell out in the summer. He was just going to kill it. Whatever movie he put out, everyone's going to fall in love. It's going to be a guaranteed hit. What you've noticed over the last couple of years is the transition of Will Smith trying to explore or launch the next phase of his career, which is, let me put out and launch my production company. Let me utilize social media, YouTube, Instagram to express my creativity and really build the next phase of my career without having to rely on big production houses. So now that a lot of this is not cleaned up in the editing room, we're seeing, and he's having to deal with maybe some of the flaws that he couldn't have addressed before. So I think that's definitely one lesson to take away, and always remember that success in one phase of your life or your business does not automatically guarantee success in the next phase. It gives you a head start. It gives you attention because people say, oh, shoot, yo, Will, oh, you want to hear? Okay, cool, let me tune in. And you're going to get that loyalty just because of what you've done previously, but it doesn't guarantee, because at the end of the day, it's a different territory. But I will say, above all else, I have to give respect for the courage to come out and say what he said, whether people see it as an apology, whatever it is. I think the fact that he sat down and said those things, in spite of it probably not being something that people were looking forward to, or he's just bouncing back from a bad situation, it shows that he has a lot of courage to just say, you know what, I'm going to man up, I'm going to face it. And that's a great example for a lot of people to see, because, you know, everyone can benefit from owning their wrongs. And I like that even at his status, he's saying, yeah, I did wrong too. And whether you want to hear it or not, I'm still going to say it.
What do you feel should be or suggested next steps to build back up the trust for the people? From the people.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, the reason why, and again, as a Will Smith fan, I'm saying the reason this one is going to be a little bit tougher than previous, it's because he just put out the book.
Right.
And his book, he really revealed his trauma, and we saw videos of him breaking down in the writing and the editing room of trying to put that together. So the big factor in the back of my mind, as someone who's paying attention to a lot of those details, wait a minute, are all of these attempts to grow acts, or are they really happening? Right? And look, I'm not talking bad. I'm just saying, time after time again, especially when these incidents happen so close to each other, it says, dang, but you just said this was the big win for you and the book was the accomplishment.
Right.
So now what? So I think he has to either really open up deeper into his process and make it less editing, like just keep it super organic, super selfie in the camera kind of thing, to maybe use that as a way to win some people over, or just show that it's not an act. So I'm sure their team is building that up right now. Even just the fact that it was 3 months to the day.
Right.
I mean, it happened. I was looking at his last post. I think it was March or April 29th at the time, or 28th at the day this is being recorded, and the post came out. So a lot of it is, I get it. I have big publicists and there's intentionality behind everything, but I think people are probably going to want to see things be a little bit less perfect and just super organic to say, okay, no, this is real. It's not an act. Yeah.
I mean, he owns a whole production company, so.
I mean, off the chain, and it's super creative too. Like, I can't knock it as a perfectionist. I love every part of what he does, but I'm just saying, from a trust standpoint, you can't help but think in the back of your mind, okay, how much of this is acting? I mean, you're literally an actor.
Right.
You can probably turn it on camera in your sleep.
Right.
So how much of this is an act and how much of it is genuine is probably the thought that's going to be running through some people's minds, I imagine.
This is true. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think it is needed to see them? You know how, like, you had those rap beefs, and then they came together, and it was like, oh, it's for the culture. This is great. Do you believe that something like that has to happen between Chris Rock and Will Smith to maybe seal the brand trust? Like, okay, that this is a wrap.
I'm not going to say it's not needed. I think things like that are always good, but I also want to challenge the culture, or whoever's listening, is that people of that age or demographic, we've already seen a lot of these makeups already happen. So how many more times do we need to see it happen before we stop repeating the mistake? So we've seen Shaq and Kobe sit down. We've seen Isaiah Thomas and Magic sit down, I believe. We've seen a few of these conversations take place. So I think we as a society probably need to start owning up to some of these things a little bit and really stepping up to the plate. And of course, with that, it's the process of taking mental health and healing some of these traumas a little bit more seriously and being proactive in that. But I'm just saying, for that era or that generation, you have examples of people who sat down and hashed it out. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Rock and Will Smith sit down and hash it out. I mean, the day it happened, Diddy came out and said, no, this is all going to be taken care of. Don't worry about it. They're brothers. This is good. Don't even worry about it. But I will say, we probably need to see more of those examples for the younger generation. You know, that's the generation right now that I don't think I'm not saying they may not look up to a Will Smith, but the younger generation is, they're young. They live in a whole different life right now. So we got to see people of that generation, or people who can inspire that generation, start to really push that message out to them as well.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Listen, people, I'm rooting for Will Smith. I'm just
100%.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. I think it's going to be a journey, but we have to learn that to kind of end this segment. Like, when there is something significant that happens, not saying we will all have Will Smith moments, but we will all make mistakes. What in our mind do we have as damage control? What do we do when we have to build our brand trust back? Like how what are some of the things we know we have to do? How hard do we have to work? What front face stuff do we have to do to be like, oh, okay, it was a mistake, you know, like, and so it's going to happen to all of us. Like I said, maybe not in that kind of status, but mistakes are always going to happen. And so we are going to break a bit of brand trust. What is going to be our damage control around that? So in the comments, whether it is YouTube, DM us, what do you think Will Smith should be doing at this moment now that he's back outside? He's back outside, people. What should he do at this moment to kind of build brand trust? That's what I'll say. I mean, that's what I'll say.
That's good.